Dive Podcast, straight talk on politics, national security, and America's future. With Robert Johnson and Linda Miller, we cut through the spin, tackle the tough issues, and give you the real story behind today's headlines. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to stay informed. Okay, let's dive right in today. We're looking at some recent high-level talks between Russia and China.
That's right. Based on reporting from May 8th, 2025, the core event was this meeting in Moscow.
Between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, correct?
Yes, exactly. And apparently it was quite substantial. It lasted about 4 hours.
Wow, 4 hours. And what came out of it?
Well, the main outcome reported was a joint statement they both signed, the idea being to further deepen their partnership.
Okay. And this wasn't happening in a vacuum, was it? There was context mentioned about the U.S.
Right. The report framed it as a display of solidarity, particularly given what it called uncertain diplomacy from the U.S. president, under the America First slogan.
So that's a backdrop. What did Putin specifically say about this alignment?
He reportedly stated that the Russia-China foreign policy coordination, it's a crucial stabilizing factor, especially now with the complex global situation and all the uncertainty.
A stabilizing factor. Interesting phrasing.
Mm-hmm. And he added that together, Russia and China are pushing for, or advocating for, a world order that's more, just democratic and multipolar.
Multipolar, meaning not dominated by just one power center.
Precisely. Power shared among several major players.
And did Xi Jinping echo that sentiment?
He did, yeah. He described Russia and China as stable, positive, and progressive forces. That was his characterization for the international community.
Positive and progressive forces. Okay.
And he also called for them to work together to sort of guide global governance in the right direction.
And promote what, exactly?
Inclusive economic globalization, the idea that it should benefit everyone, not just a few.
Got it. And the report connects these statements to specific U.S. actions.
It does. It mentions the timing these statements came as the U.S. had withdrawn from several UN bodies, and there were those growing concerns about a potential global trade war.
So that context is definitely key.
Absolutely. It helps understand why they might be emphasizing their partnership so strongly right now.
Did she say anything stronger about, say, global power dynamics?
Yes, actually. The report notes he spoke about international opposition to a unipolar foreign policy, one superpower calling the shots, and what they see as attempts by powerful nations to become, global hegemons.
Hegemons, okay, dominant powers.
Right. And in that context, she mentioned Russia and China having a special responsibility.
A special responsibility to do what, essentially? Counter that trend.
That seems to be the implication, yes. To work against that kind of unipolar dominance.
Now, she was in Russia for a specific event, too, wasn't he?
He was. It was a 4-day official visit, and he was scheduled to be the leading foreign guest at Putin's Victory Day military parade.
Victory Day, May 9th. That's a huge deal in Russia.
A very major holiday, yes. Commemorating the victory over Nazi Germany in 1945.
And this year's had added layers, didn't it?
It did. The report points out it coincided with renewed fighting in Ukraine and was also the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory.
Plus, that background noise of global uncertainty you mentioned, linked to the U.S. administration's foreign policy shifts.
Exactly. Which, according to the report, led both Russia and China to reassess their own long-standing relationships with Washington, even as they strengthened ties with each other.
And trade tensions were part of that reassessment.
Very much so, especially between the U.S. and China because of the tariffs the U.S. president had imposed. That was highlighted.
There was also an interesting note about the Kremlin's view of Washington, right? A potential shift.
Yeah, that was intriguing. The report mentioned a time when the Kremlin apparently saw the administration's rhetoric more favorably than, say, Joe Biden's.
But that changed.
Well, now the report says there were concerns in the Kremlin about the U.S. potentially warming up relations with Kyiv, so a different perspective emerging.
So amidst all this complexity, the meeting itself aimed to project what? Unity.
Unity seems to be the key word, yes. Both leaders really wanted to show their nations were aligned. Putin calling Xi his main guest for Victory Day really underscored that.
Were there, symbolic gestures, too?
Oh, yeah. The usual ceremonial welcome at the Kremlin. Handshakes, photos with the flags, the standard diplomatic display of closeness.
And they used friendly language.
They did. The report noted both called each other friend in their opening remarks.
And Xi used a specific term to describe the relationship.
He did. He called it calm and confident, stable, and he used the Russian word hush.
Which means?
Stable or sustainable, resilient, reinforcing that message of a solid, lasting partnership.
It feels like they meet quite often.
The report backs that up. Over 40 times in the past decade alone, consistently strengthening ties, even with those shared tensions with the West.
So back to the joint declaration, what kind of goals did it outline?
Putin described them as ambitious goals. The focus was heavily on deeper economic and tech ties.
Any specific targets mentioned?
Yes, plans for substantial and high-quality trade and investment between them by 2030.
2030, okay. And current trade?
Putin apparently said that, daily work continues to support positive trade dynamics. He pointed out Russia is now a leading global importer of Chinese cars.
Interesting detail. Did he mention manufacturing?
He did.
Yeah.
Said Russia welcomes Chinese manufacturing and the transfer of Chinese industrial know-how.
And the trade volume itself?
Hit a record in 2024, according to the report. China's become a really key economic support for Russia, especially with the sanctions over the Ukraine conflict.
Now, the report also mentioned the Western accusations about China's role, didn't it?
It did. Accusations about China supporting Russia through exporting dual-use goods things with both civilian and military applications.
And China's response?
Beijing denies those accusations, as noted in the report.
From China's side, is the Russian market becoming more important?
It seems so, especially for Chinese exporters looking for new markets after those U.S. tariffs hit their goods hard. Russia offers an alternative and expansion opportunity.
How did Xi frame the agreement signed?
He reportedly saw them as providing new impetus, a fresh push for developing the relationship further.
And he looked back at their progress.
Yeah, he expressed appreciation for the, quote, leap forward in cooperation over the last 10 years, especially, he noted, given the increasing instability internationally.
How many documents were actually signed?
Over 20, apparently, covering a really wide range.
Like what?
Things like global stability, support for international law, environmental security, protecting investments, the digital economy, even things like quarantine control and film cooperation.
A broad scope. Now, shifting slightly, the report mentioned a ceasefire in Ukraine.
Yes, timed with the parade. Putin announced a unilateral 3-day ceasefire. It reportedly took effect Wednesday midnight local time.
Which was afternoon in Washington.
Right, 5 p.m. Washington time, according to TASS, the Russian state news agency.
But was it holding? Any incidents reported?
Well, the Ukrainian Air Force claimed Russia launched guided missiles over Sumy during the night. The report did add that CNN couldn't independently verify that claim.
And there was that earlier statement from Zelensky.
Right. Zelensky had warned Kyiv couldn't be responsible for events inside Russia itself, given the ongoing conflict. The Kremlin reportedly called that statement a threat.
Okay. And the Victory Day parade itself, who was expected to attend besides Xi?
Quite a few world leaders, actually. Over 24 were expected. Troops from 13 countries were set to participate, too.
Any prominent names mentioned?
Yes, the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, Egypt's president El-Sisi, and Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko were among those expected.
So the report frames this whole event, the meeting, the parade, as a chance for Putin to, what? Assert himself.
Pretty much. Assert himself as a global political player, especially with global tensions high, including mentioning the India-Pakistan crisis as part of that backdrop.
And the significance of Victory Day itself under Putin.
The report highlighted its increased importance during his leadership, especially recently, linking it to his rhetoric about denazification in Ukraine.
One final detail is the military hardware in the parade.
Apparently reduced since 2022. The reason given was that much of it is involved in active combat operations.
Right, that makes sense. A lot happened around this meeting.
Definitely a significant moment in their relationship, set against a very complex global picture.
Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We are here to make things clear. New episodes every day.